It's 5 p.m. across India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll bring you all the day's big stories from across India and the world. And with me today from London is my colleague, Stuart Smith. Hi, Stuart.
Good afternoon, Tanvi. It's 12:30 p.m. here in the UK and 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Ukraine's president is preparing for his speech at the United Nations General Assembly. Japan, South Korea and the United States are making their feelings known about closer cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow, and the latest on the floods in Libya. But first, the headlines.
Women's Reservation Bill tabled in the special session of Indian Parliament, calling it historic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges opposition to unanimously pass the bill. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to address the United Nations General Assembly today as leaders look to unite over crises. And World Health Organization revises the Libya floods death toll to 3,958. Over 9,000 remain missing amid chaotic responses on the ground. So up first, news from the Indian Parliament. The Women's Reservation Bill was introduced in the lower house of Parliament today. The Law and Justice Minister introduced the bill that will allow 181 women parliamentarians, that comprises 1/3 of seats in the lower house of Parliament and state assemblies. The Women's Reservation Bill, called the Constitution 128th Amendment Bill 2023, is also called Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. This is the first bill to be introduced in the lower house after the proceedings moved to the new building of the Indian Parliament. Prime Minister Modi highlighted the importance of this bill.
अटल जी के कार्यकाल में कई बार महिला आरक्षण का बिल पेश किया गया, कई बार, लेकिन उसे पार कराने के लिए आंकड़े नहीं जुटा पाए और उसके कारण वो सपना अधूरा रह गया। महिलाओं को अधिकार देने का, महिलाओं की शक्ति का उपयोग करने का वो काम, शायद ईश्वर ने ऐसे कई पवित्र काम के लिए मुझे चुना है। एक बार फिर हमारी सरकार ने इस दिशा में कदम बढ़ाया है। कल ही कैबिनेट में महिला आरक्षण वाला जो विधेयक है उसको मंजूरी दी गई है। आज 19 सितंबर की ये तारीख इसीलिए इतिहास में अमरत्व को प्राप्त करने जा रहे हैं। आज जब महिलाएं हर सेक्टर में तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही हैं, नेतृत्व कर रही है, तो बहुत आवश्यक है कि नीति निर्धारण में, पॉलिसी मेकिंग में हमारी माताएं, बहनें, हमारी नारी शक्ति अधिकतम योगदान दें, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा योगदान दें।
Now, on the second day of India's ongoing special session in Parliament, Prime Minister Modi led the members of Parliament towards the new building. In the first session, Prime Minister Modi welcomed the members of the lower house. The session in the upper house also met for a short while and will resume soon. Earlier this morning, a gathering by the members of the Parliament at the Central Hall in the old Parliament building was held to commemorate the rich legacy of the Parliament of India. Prime Minister Modi said that the parliament is shifting to the new building with the determination to fulfill the resolve of a developed India.
विकसित भारत का संकल्प दोहराना, फिर एक बार संकल्पबद्ध होना और उसको परिपूर्ण करने के लिए जी जान से जुटने के इरादे से नए भवन की तरफ प्रस्थान कर रहे हैं.
So before the gathering at the Central Hall of the old Parliament building, lawmakers gathered for a joint photo session ahead of the start of the Parliament session in the new building. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accompanied by Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankar and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, along with other lawmakers. Still with India, the country has dismissed the allegations made by Canada of the Indian government's alleged involvement in an act of violence in Canada, calling it absurd and motivated. A statement released by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs said that similar allegations were made by the Canadian Prime Minister to Indian Prime Minister, which were completely rejected. The External Affairs Ministry also stated that such unsubstantiated allegations seek to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists and extremists who have been provided shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The inaction of the Canadian government on this matter has been a long-standing cause of concern. India urged the government of Canada to take prompt and effective legal action against all anti-India elements operating from Canadian soil. In the meantime, India expelled a senior Canadian diplomat to India in a reciprocal move to Canada's expulsion of a senior Indian diplomat. The move comes after India rejected Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's charge that India played a role in the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The expelled diplomat has been asked to leave India within 5 days. On to New York now. The high-level general debate at the 78th UN General Assembly begins today with the spotlight on Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's address. My colleague Stuart Smith is in London and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Let's go over to Stuart now. Stuart, over to you.
The high-level general debate of the 78th United Nations General Assembly begins today in New York. Over 140 leaders and state representatives from around the world are expected to participate in the debate. As is customary, Brazil's leader will be the first national figurehead to address the hall, followed by US President Joe Biden. The debate will conclude on September 26th. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, has laid out the priorities for the UNGA. He said the EU wants to implement sustainable development goals to get the 2030 agenda back on track. Borrell pointed out the urgent need to tackle the climate crisis together ahead of COP28 in the UAE, the Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC, or United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
Sustainable Development Goals. We have a vital opportunity to get the 2030 agenda on track. Our offer and key contributions to accelerate the deliveries of the Sustainable Development Goals is the Global Gateway, you know, and our 300 billion of investment supporting the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. The second issue is climate and environment. Certainly, we must foster our joint commitments ahead of the COP28. And for this, for us, the full implementation of the Paris Agreement will remain at the forefront of our actions.
Meanwhile, ahead of the general debate of the 78th UN General Assembly, UN members attended a meeting on sustainable development goals. The members adopted a political declaration in a bid to get those development goals back on track. DD India's William Denslow reports from the UN headquarters in New York.
The international community has its work cut out. That's the message from the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres as he kicked off a two-day UN Sustainable Development Goals Summit here at the UN as part of the high-level week for the UN's General Assembly. Back in 2015, the international community passed 17 ambitious targets to achieve by the year 2030. Things that include ending hunger, addressing inequality around the world, helping to tackle climate change. We're now at the halfway mark. Essentially, the UN says that the international community is falling far short of being on track to achieve those ambitious targets. The UN estimates, in fact, that around only 15% of the SDGs are currently on track.
Today, only 15% of the targets are on track, and many are going in reverse. Instead of leaving no one behind, we risk leaving the SDGs behind. So, Excellencies, the SDGs need a global rescue plan.
The hope is that this two-day summit in New York can help turn the tide. There was a major focus on Monday when it comes to the benefits of technology and how tech can help advance the SDGs. That was a point reiterated by the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He warned that around a third of the SDGs are currently moving in reverse, but he says that 80% of the SDGs could be advanced significantly thanks to things like artificial intelligence. That's through things like helping predict weather patterns more successfully, to help productivity in the agricultural sector, as well as better clean energy infrastructure. That is why Washington is pledging an extra $15 million to help nations around the world leverage the power of artificial intelligence. Now, here at the UN General Assembly, the Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is urging world leaders to come here not just with lofty speeches, but with tangible action plans. They're very much hoping that we'll see that translated to the SDG summit as nations from around the world are encouraged to come forward and show the international community what they plan to do to help get those SDG goals back on track. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met wounded Ukrainian soldiers at a New York City hospital on Monday ahead of his address at the United Nations General Assembly. In his first in-person visit to the Assembly since Russia launched its so-called special military operation against Ukraine, Zelensky is due to speak at the annual General Assembly of World Leaders on Tuesday. Zelensky travelled straight from the airport to a hospital where Ukrainian soldiers are being treated. The President and First Lady Olena Zelenska arrived in New York today. During their visit, Zelensky plans to address the UN General Assembly and meet with his US counterpart, President Joe Biden. Russia's war in Ukraine will be on the agenda of the UN gathering, along with challenges facing the global south. Megumi Lim has more from Kiev.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be addressing the United Nations General Assembly today, the first time he will be doing so in person since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. He is hoping to shore up more support for aid for his country as the war continues. And he is also hoping to win over the support of developing countries, some of which have leaned towards Russia during the war. He will be making the case to world leaders that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a direct violation of the UN's most sacred principle of territorial integrity. This visit comes at a crucial and delicate time as the Ukrainian counteroffensive enters its fourth month. Some Western officials have voiced concern that the counteroffensive has not yielded significant results. President Zelensky, during his visit, is hoping to make a strong case that Ukraine can still make major gains on the battlefield, but also to express his deep gratitude and thanks to allies that have supported Ukraine throughout the war. Megumi Lim for DD India in Kiev.
The United States, Japan and South Korea have raised concerns over growing ties between North Korea and Russia and their potential impact on the Ukraine war. The Japanese Foreign Ministry said that the three nations will continue to monitor the growing cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow. Last week, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited Russia, where he met President Vladimir Putin. Kim also visited Russian military establishments. The West and its allies have accused North Korea of supplying weapons to Russia for use against Ukraine. Russia launched an air attack on the Ukrainian city of Lviv, killing one person. Local officials said that the blast also caused a major fire at an industrial warehouse. Russia has been targeting the industrial city in a bid to destroy Ukraine's crucial defense infrastructure. Moscow said that its forces attacked multiple Ukrainian targets, including an ammunition depot, while Kyiv claimed its troops destroyed 17 Russian missiles in the last 24 hours. Russia also claimed to have intercepted 27 drones and 5 rockets launched by High Mobility Artillery Rocket Systems, or HIMARS, that were supplied to Ukraine by the United States. The United States has urged its allied nations to send more air defense systems to Ukraine as Russia claims it has intercepted Ukrainian rockets supplied by Washington. Addressing leaders of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin urged leaders to push hard to provide more ground-based air defense to Ukraine. However, the group made no commitments on Kyiv's demand for longer-range missiles. It was the 15th meeting of the group, which was established to support the Ukrainian Defense Forces after Russia's invasion in February 2022.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Air defense is saving lives. So I urge this group to continue to dig deep on ground-based air defense for Ukraine. And we must continue to push hard to provide Ukraine with the air defense systems and interceptors that it needs. And right now, in the heat of battle, we must also keep pushing to get Ukraine the ammunition that it needs to keep up the fight, including 155mm ammunition.
The World Health Organization has revised the Libya floods death toll to 3,958. Last week, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs estimated over 11,000 casualties. According to the WHO's latest update, over 9,000 people remain missing in the flood-hit country after remnants of Storm Daniel lashed Libya earlier this month. Officials have been using different methods to count the casualties, giving rise to varying figures. That's it from me here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Joining me from our London bureau, you're watching DD India Global. Still to come on the show. ASEAN kicks off its first ever joint military drills in Indonesia amid rising tensions with China. And online platform X, formerly known as Twitter, could introduce a monthly fee for all users.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. 5 Iranian nationals detained in the United States are now free individuals. 2 of the 5 freed Iranian prisoners, Mehrdad Moin Ansari and Raza Sarhangpour Kafrani, landed at Tehran in the early hours of Tuesday and united with their families. Their release came after 5 US citizens left Iran for the US on Monday in a prisoner swap against which 5 Iranians held in the United States were also released. Also, $6 billion was transferred in Iranian funds. The South Korean Foreign Ministry confirms that the Iranian frozen funds of $6 billion have been transferred to Qatar. Qatar has played an indirect mediator's role between the United States and Iran.
The Iranian funds that had been frozen in South Korea due to financial sanctions on Iran have been recently transferred to a third country successfully under close coordination among the involved countries.
Moving on, the European Union has flagged the issue of China's data laws concerning the EU businesses. During the EU-China high-level digital dialogue, the continental bloc raised concerns over the lack of clarity on Chinese data laws and the lengthy procedures European companies have to go through. In July, China expanded its anti-espionage law, introducing sweeping updates, which included banning the transfer of any information related to national security and broadening the definition of espionage.
We will come back to the Chinese authorities with a proposal to create some kind of information link that will help the European businesses to understand the laws and avoid the possible lack of compliance. We offered our experts. We have for data governance and data transfers, and so the ambassador will follow.
Now, amid tensions with China, Indonesia is hosting ASEAN's first ever military drills. Dubbed as a non-combat exercise, the drills are being held at the Natuna Islands near the South China Sea. The exercise comes days after ASEAN countries, including Vietnam and the Philippines, rejected China's new map, which declared almost the entire South China Sea as Chinese territory. East Timor, which is not an ASEAN member, is also participating in these drills.
This is not a combat exercise because ASEAN is more about economic issues. The training focuses more on disaster relief operation and civil aid services.
Elon Musk and his online platform X continue to make news. Now, he says that he could impose a monthly fee for all X users, citing the need to cut down on bots. The tech tycoon has made multiple changes since taking over the site for $44 billion in October last year, when it was known as Twitter. Currently, X Premium costs $8 a month in the United States, but charges depend on which country the user is in. Elon Musk has fired thousands of employees, introduced a paid premium option, cut content moderation, and reinstated formerly banned accounts, including that of former US President Donald Trump. Elon Musk said in July that the platform had lost roughly half its advertising revenue. Bots, accounts run by computer programs rather than humans, are common on X, where they can be used to artificially amplify political messages or racial hatred. Emirati astronaut Sultan Al Neyadi returned to the UAE after a historic 6-month mission aboard the International Space Station ISS. Al Neyadi was given a hero's welcome at the Abu Dhabi International Airport, where he was greeted by the President and the Prime Minister, among other officials. Al Neyadi's mission of 186 days aboard the ISS was the longest by an Arab astronaut, and he made history during his time on the ISS by becoming the first Arab astronaut to perform a spacewalk. And next, we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Doctors in the United Kingdom have launched a 48-hour strike on Tuesday demanding a pay hike. The British government has instructed healthcare workers to serve during industrial action. The government says that around 1 million appointments in state-run hospitals have already been cancelled due to the doctors' strike this year. With less than a month to go for the New Zealand general elections, the leaders of the two major political parties faced off in the first televised leaders' debate. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins and his main challenger, National Party leader Christopher Luxon, debated major election issues. Hipkins' Labour Party has been in power for the last 2 terms. The UN Cultural Agency has listed an ancient Guatemalan city, first occupied as early as 800 BC, as a World Heritage Site. Tacalicabarj, meaning standing stone, predated to the Mayan civilization, was a major economic and cultural center in southern Guatemala during pre-Columbian era. It is the 3rd site in the country to be declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Back in India, relentless search operation in India's Jammu and Kashmir ended on the 7th day today. Police officials stated that Lashkar-e-Taiba commander Uzair Khan was gunned down in the encounter and his weapons were recovered. However, the Indian security forces will continue to locate and destroy more natural and cave-like hideouts of the terrorists in the dense forest areas. They're using drones and helicopters for surveillance of these areas.
The search operation will continue as many areas are still left. We would appeal to the public not to go there. We had the information about 2-3 terrorists. It's possible that we find the 3rd body somewhere, that's why we complete the search operation. We found the body of the Lashkar-e-Taiba commander and retrieved it. We could also spot another body. We are looking for the 3rd body.
More from India. The festival of Ganeshotsav has begun with pomp and splendor. The western Indian state of Maharashtra is known for its grand Ganeshotsav celebrations. Devotees are looking forward to the 10-day festivities, which begin today and will end on 28th of September.
The festival of Ganesh Utsav has begun in India. The state of Maharashtra is known for the Ganpati celebrations conducted in an elaborate and illustrious manner. Ganesh Utsav or Vinayak Chaturthi is a 10-day festival and begins with the installation of Lord Ganesha's clay idols at homes and public places or pandals for community celebrations. The state markets are bustling to welcome their beloved Ganpati. And devotees are all set for the 10-day festivities, which begins on September the 19th and will end on September the 28th. With rising awareness about the environment and a general public feeling of contributing towards conservation of nature, this Ganesh Chaturthi, the devotees are preferring an eco-friendly festival. The markets are flooded with decors, both regular and eco-friendly ones. This year, mandals have enhanced security with CCTV cameras, metal detectors and other measures. To ensure that no devotee is excluded from blessings of Bappa, many pandals have adopted the feature of digital darshan and puja. Along with the traditional Ganesh idols of the mandals, new patterns are made every year. As many as 71,789 domestic and 31 public Ganpatis are being installed in the district during the Ganesh Utsav that begins on Tuesday. With many unique idols and pandal themes, this year too, Maharashtra's most awaited festival is being celebrated with modernity, yet with a traditional touch.
Lord Ganesha is prayed in India when anything new is started, and that's why the day was chosen for the Indian Parliament to be shifted to its new building in New Delhi. So with that, it's a wrap in this edition of DD India Global, but we will be back with DD India Global at 7:30 p.m. live from Washington, Indian Standard Time. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at DD India Live. You can also catch us on YouTube. You can just type there DD India. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.